This evening, we've gone deep. Our speakers have shared their souls, illuminating very different paths from sorrow to strength. While life may never look quite the same, it's when we find ourselves ready to embrace it anew, to say yes to life again, that myriad possibilities await. And this is the spirit of what our next speaker represents. Jordan Hirsch is a testament to the power of saying yes and to life. With a background that spans management consulting, improv comedy, and public speaking, including being a South by Southwest audience favorite, Jordan is not only a credentialed leadership coach and a trained team development facilitator, but also an embodiment of joy, creativity, and boundless possibility, some of my absolute favorite things. His company, Fish Tree, is more than a coaching, learning, and development company. It's a transformational destination for leaders and teams seeking to reimagine their work and lives. Let's welcome Jordan Hirsch to the digital stage, ready to inspire us with the courage to say yes and to whatever life throws our way.
Wow. Thank you, Anita. I want to meet that guy. He sounds amazing. And I just want to say I'm so excited to be a part of this amazing and inspiring lineup tonight. And compared to some of our other amazing speakers tonight, I don't have an inspiring life story. What I do have for you today is a tool that I want to share with all of you to help you start living more authentically. So with that, do a little screen share here. And I want to tell you about improvising authenticity, or how to yes and your way to an authentic life. So we haven't met. Hello again. I'm Jordan. As you heard, I'm a coach, I'm a facilitator, I'm an improviser, a little more on that later. And I'm also an expert on leading an inauthentic life. I'm really good at it. I actually did it for years and years and years. And I want to tell you a little bit about the tool that I use to change everything. And that tool is improv. So, great question. I'm sure you're all asking, what does improv have to do with authenticity? Aren't we making it up when we're improvising? Yes, of course we are. And we're also trying to ground the humor that we go for in authenticity. In improv, every choice that we make on stage moves our characters either more closer to being authentic, realistic, grounded, or farther away. And I've learned over the years that the big laughs come from the honest, authentic reactions and choices that you make on stage as an improviser. And all we have to go on, since we're making it up on the spot, is what's come before, what's already true for our characters. Turns out that's true in life as well, right? No one gets a script handed to them every morning. We all have to make our own choices. So since we're all improvising all the time, we might as well use the tools that improvisers use to do their best work. So speaking of making choices, did you think you were going to get out of here without a Brene Brown quote? So congratulations, we've got one. Just like in improv, authenticity in real life is also a collection of choices. I mean, after all, who are we but the sum total of the choices that we make every day? So I love Brene Brown's definition. I have something that I would love to add to it, but I would love to invite folks who are viewing right now, if you would throw in the chat, what would you add to this definition? What does authenticity mean to you? You've been hearing about authenticity for a whole evening here, or an afternoon, depending what coast you're on. Anybody want to add their definition into the Zoom chat? While you're thinking, I'll just say that what I would add is that an authentic life is one where your actions align with your values. Very simple. Oh, Jen, listening to your heart. I love that. Absolutely. Authenticity. This idea of, oh, thank you, Julie, doing any and everything unapologetically. Yes, I love that. Oh my God, very authentic. Very authentic, right? When you stop apologizing for yourself all the time. You heard some speakers tonight talk about that. Being unapologetically me and raw. Donna, that's beautiful. Wearing the clothes that made the 6-year-old me so happy. Anita, I love it. I usually wear like a band t-shirt and a hoodie every day because that is authentically how I feel most me. So I mentioned for me, what I would add to this definition that that Brene Brown has given us is this idea that your actions are aligning with your values. Well, one of my big values is optimism. And yet, for years and years and years, I stayed at a job where I did not feel very optimistic. I didn't think it would actually ever get any better. I didn't think I deserved for it to get any better. Who am I to go out and actually enjoy my life? I couldn't even tell you what my job description meant. People would ask me, what do you do at a party? And I would just kind of say the title and then like mumble something and try to change the subject as soon as I possibly could. So staying in a job that you don't like isn't necessarily as inauthentic as, say, keeping a secret family on the side, which maybe some people do, but it certainly wasn't in line with my real values. And I felt that tension every day. And I know that I'm not alone, right? A lot of us make choices every day that do not add up to the authentic lives we actually deserve. To which I say, so what? Who cares? So what if we're not living authentic lives? Oh, I'm so glad you asked, everybody. Well, when you're not living an authentic life, you can end up in the wrong zone. I want to introduce you to the zones that a friend of mine introduced me to a few years ago. Authenticity matters, at least to me, because it can determine what zone you're spending the bulk of your time in. So we start here in the green zone. If we're lucky, we get to spend most of our time here. The green zone is very comfortable. We know what's expected of us. We can handle things in the green zone. We don't really have to stretch and grow. We can just kind of get up every day, do our thing, and go on with life. And it sounds great. It has a hidden pitfall I'll get to in a minute. The yellow zone, as you can see by this little emoji, is where growth happens. Yay, growth. Embracing authenticity tends to land us in this zone as we start grappling with some uncomfortable but probably very important truths. Next one is the red zone. Red is the danger zone. We get here when we've been pulled too far out of alignment with our values, so far that it actually hurts. And back when I said that if you hang out in the green zone, right, the green zone does have kind of this hidden underside, that would be the blue zone. The blue zone is when we've spent too long in the green zone without ever stepping out, and we can actually start to shrink. And when we're out of alignment with our values, it's easy to slip into the red zone or the blue zone. And in the red zone, we feel like our choices have gotten away from us. But in the blue zone, we can feel like we don't have any choices. And it's so insidious because that blue zone can feel comfortable at first, right? I'm doing the same thing I did yesterday. Why does everything suck? Because we can end up feeling like we're stuck there, right? We don't have any choices and we don't know how to get out. And I spent a lot of time in the blue zone. So there is a cost to living inauthentically. Another way to put it is that when we're not living authentically, we're not really awake. And by the way, a certain portion of the audience over a certain age, I won't name any numbers, but may now have this song stuck in your heads if you were alive at the same time that I was. So you're welcome for that. But while we're not fully awake, while we're half asleep, we often end up trading things for authenticity. Things like money or stability or the illusion of stability or comfort. And those things are great things to have, but they're not always worth the trade. So what can we do about it? Well, this is where I'm going to tell everyone to go out, quit your job tomorrow, and start an entirely new life. Just kidding. We can actually use a tool from the world of improv to begin making some small changes that can put you on the path to a more authentic life. So you may all have heard of this idea of yes and before, but I want to talk about what it really means and what it doesn't mean. It is definitely the foundation of improvisation, right? Yes and is how we build something from seemingly nothing by agreeing to what's come before and then building on it. And it all starts with noticing what's true so that we can then build on top of it. This noticing step sounds simple. It's actually really hard. Noticing what's true means accepting what's true. Doesn't mean agreeing to it. All right, accepting where you are is how you start to build a path to what is next for you. It doesn't mean that you're agreeing to stay there forever, but that acceptance is not always easy, fun, or pleasant, right? It's about accepting reality, and sometimes reality sucks. But until you accept it, you can't really do anything about it. So that yes can actually mean saying some scary things out loud, sometimes for the first time. Like, yes, I actually do hate my job. Yes, I feel inauthentic in my marriage. I had a client tell me that recently. Yes, I have regrets. Yes, I feel out of alignment. Yes, I am an angrier person than I want to be. There's all kinds of things that we can say once we start noticing and accepting what's really going on and saying yes to it. But once you do, you now have a place you can start building from. And that's a powerful thing to have. And by the way, don't get the wrong idea. This is not about self-improvement. This is actually about self-acceptance, which is a great place to start if you're looking to live more authentically. Because the thing about self-improvement is that it actually is often a mask for self-judgment. And a while back, a neuroscientist named Dr. Charles Lim took a bunch of jazz musicians and rappers and he put them into an MRI machine and he had them improvise. And he learned that when you're creating something new, the part of the brain responsible for self-judgment and self-censorship actually shuts down. Because when that part is active, the creative parts of the brain can't function effectively. You can't create something new and judge yourself at the same time. We all try to do it, but it doesn't work. So what that means is that you can't try new things when you're busy judging yourself. And if you want to make a change, you're going to have to try some new things. And if you're judging yourself the whole time, it's not going to go very well. So that's why this yes is so powerful. So I want to invite everyone to take a second. Let's just take a minute. And I want to invite you to write down a place in your life where maybe you feel out of authenticity, where you're not being your authentic self. Just jot it down. Start with the word yes, so that you remember that it's actually true. If you're feeling brave or bold, you can put it into the Zoom chat, but you don't have to. Just write it on your own. And I should have brought background music for this part, so feel free to just kind of hum to yourself while you're writing. And I'll give everybody about 30 more seconds. I can't see people in this webinar format, so I don't know if people are actually writing, and I'm very curious. So if you're actually writing anything, will you throw something in the chat and tell me if you're doing it? Thank you, Anita. Anita's writing. Awesome. Take a few more seconds. Thank you, Chrissy. Thank you, Hector. Oh, beautiful. All right. People are actually writing. I love it. By the way, this part can suck because it's basically having to start accepting something that maybe you don't like to say out loud, right? There's a reason we don't go around just telling strangers like, oh, hey, I'm out of authenticity in my marriage right now. Do you want to hear? No, you just want my coffee order? All right. That's how it's going to be. So if this is uncomfortable, thank you. Thank you for doing it. And it probably means you're doing it right. Thank you, Claudia. All right. Nice breath. Once the painful part is over for now. Let's talk about the and in yes and. The and here is about, oh, Donna, thank you for sharing. Yes, I speak my mind too much, but with sugar-coated verbiage. Ooh. All right. So it sounds like maybe a little bit out of authenticity there. Well, let's see what we can do about that. So the and in yes and is about building one choice at a time, right? Remember all those choices we talked about earlier? Building is very important because it can sometimes feel like in order to be authentic, the message is like, well, just go change everything in your life all at once. That's a really overwhelming way to approach change. It's also not how buildings get built. And buildings, I think, are a helpful metaphor here. In improv, we have this saying where we talk about bring a brick, not a cathedral. On the improv stage, what that means is just bring one idea at a time so that your scene partner can build with you. You don't have to invent an entire story. In life, that means you only need to come up with one idea at a time, one choice at a time to start living more authentically. Bringing one brick at a time is a great way to make change feel safer and approachable. Right? Each brick is not a lifelong choice and commitment forever. Each brick is an experiment to be learned from, right? Despite being bricks, they're actually not set in stone. So, yay, it's writing time again. Let's take another minute, and this time I want to invite you to write down a few and steps you could take. These are not commitments. These are possibilities. Think about, what would one step towards a more authentic life look like for you? But it's totally okay for this step to be super small, right? Maybe it's a relationship where something needs to be said. If it's a change in how you show up somewhere in your life, maybe it's having that talk with your boss, updating the resume. It could be anything. And if you are so moved, I would love to see if people would throw some of these possibilities, some of these bricks into the chat. This is probably the only time today someone will ask you to throw a brick, but go ahead and throw your bricks into the chats, because then we can see a little cascade of possibilities, which is pretty fun. I'll be quiet now so you can write for a minute. Oh, Claudia, that's beautiful. Claudia shared, to be as kind to myself as I am to others. And some days it is hard. It's very hard. Anita shared, get out of the house and around awesome people and ideas more often. These are great possibilities. These are, even so, Claudia, you, not to call you out, but you said, be as kind to myself as I am to others. And I'm going to invite you to think of what is actually one tiny way you could do that. One small way to get started, one little brick. Here comes the fun part. Remember how I said these weren't commitments? Well, what if they were? What if we made one of them a commitment? So I'm going to invite you, if you actually wrote down some steps, pick a step you could do in the next week. All right, it's Friday. You got the weekend coming up, a week ahead of us after that. Pick a step that you could do literally in the next week and commit to actually taking that step. And if your heart just started beating a little faster at the thought of doing that, congratulations. Welcome to the Yellow Zone. We're happy to have you. By the way, if you need support right-sizing that commitment and actually following through on it, I know I did. I worked with a coach, and that changed a lot of things for me because this stuff is hard, right? I can tell you this kind of support is one of the most valuable things that I got out of working with my coach. Oh, Hector needs to have some hard conversations. Claudia is going to smile at myself every morning in the mirror. That's beautiful. Taking this leap is scary, and it can be helpful to know that someone has your back. So in improv, before we go out on stage and start yes-anding each other all over the place, we actually pat each other on the back and we say, I've got your back. Now, when I first envisioned this activity, I didn't know we wouldn't be able to see or hear each other. So we're just going on faith that everyone's going to do this. But I want to invite everybody to reach your arms out to the side like so. And I'm going to count down from 3. And when I do, I want you to pat your virtual neighbors on the back and say, I've got your back. Ready? 3, 2, 1. I've got your back. Feels pretty good, I think. Even if you can't see each other, it feels good to just say it. But what happens once we say goodbye tonight? Who's going to have your back once this little group is gone? So for that, let's get another dose of inspiration, this time from a song that came out in this century. Ariana Grande tells us to be our own bleeping best friend. Well, being your own best friend is kind of like having your own back. So I want to invite everyone to do something super cheesy with me, raise an arm. And when I count down from 3, this time I want you to pat yourself on the back and join me once again in saying, I've got your back. Ready? 3, 2, 1. I've got your back. I actually come back to that often. Throughout my week, will often have to pat myself on the back and say that to remind myself that the scary thing I'm facing is possible because I'm going to be my own best friend. So whatever happened to that guy from the beginning? Well, as I mentioned, he worked with a coach, started making some changes. The job that he couldn't describe, he quit. Not all at once. Took a while, but he took a lot of small steps to get there, but he did it. He can describe his job now. Feels pretty good. He went on his own. He's building his own business, one choice at a time, one scary choice at a time. He's still not an expert in living authentically, but he's getting better at it. And as you can see from this clearly representative photo, he's a lot happier now. And he's still yes-anding. So for example, yes, he spends a lot of time in the yellow zone these days, and his daily life is now really well aligned with his core value of optimism. And that's why he's giving this talk, because he and I am optimistic that all of us can live more authentic lives and that we can get there one choice at a time. So with that, thank you. And I've got your back.
Thank you, Jordan. Oh, I love that. I'm like, I've got my back. We've got each other's backs.
Heck yeah, we do.